or detailed details of person. Do you understand? So we are saying first name. You understand what you know the first name of this particular person. You know the last name of this person. You know the age. That's basically what programming is talking about. So object-oriented programming, like I said, object-oriented programming is a style of programming that uses classes and objects to model real-world things like data and behavior. So basically saying that what you are giving an extra detail of what that data is talking about, and also the behavior of that data. That is why if you use objects to set your password, your code only knows that what you're trying to get data details, or you're trying to get the password of this person. So if the person does not include their password, what happens? There's evidence that that application is not going to work for them. Do you understand now? So that's basically what object-oriented programming is talking about. Just giving real-world details or real details of a particular data. You understand? And also the behavior of that data. Now, in OOP, we have two major things. You have your class, and then you have your what? Object. I just explained object, right? So now your class and object, they are combined into one thing together. Let me give you an example of what I'm trying to say. So if you go ahead and check here now, what do you have? This right here is your class and object. Okay, let me use a better example. So now, this right here is your class and object. So person equals what? First name, John, last name. Now, if I ask you, what do you think is the class there, and what do you think is the object? With what I've even explained about classes in our last class, in our HTML, what do you think is the class in this case, and what do you think is the object? Yep. Okay. Mr. Prince, what do you think is the class, and what do you think is the object? You can try. Now, the reason why I ask these questions, of course, you've not done it before, but I just like it when just think about it. Okay, we've talked about class before in CSS, talked about class before in HTML, right? From everything that I explained about class, yes, of course, there always a slight difference, but from everything I've talked about classes, what do you think is the class here? What do you think is the object? Mr. Celestine. Okay. Class is the data. That's what are the data? Okay. Want to try? You want to try? I'm asking you. Okay, for you, the class is the person. Okay, then what are the objects? Or what's the object? Just to ask, are you adding both the first name and John together as like the whole stuff? Are you saying that everything inside of this place is your object, or you're just saying the first name is your object? Okay, that's the object. Okay, then your class. What is your class? Yeah, or is your class the? So what exactly is this object carrying? So are you saying everything like this, or just here? Okay, okay. Then what's the class? My question now is that are you separating first name from John, or you are putting them together like this? That's my question. You said that's your class. What's your object? Good. That means this is your object, Abby. Good. Then what is this? I said, what is the object and what is the class? Uh-huh. So my question now is that somebody said age, yeah. So are you saying that everything here like this is the class or just the name of the object? Just your name, Abi. Then what are these? Okay, last two people. Mr. Who is going first? Is it Mr. Demon, Mr. Wizard, or Miss Joy? Go ahead. Person is the what? Miss Joy. Same thing. But what did you say before? Okay. Then the inside is the data. I used to kill the answer you ought to change. So to you, the person is the class. Then the distance inside is the object. Is that what you're saying? So I sticking with it. I am moving to this thing. And you have to tell me why. Okay, why are you sticking to your this? This that is the person in fact. You know the funny thing is, you are correct. Person here is the class, then every single thing inside of this place is not the what? Object. That is what. Now, I just explained what OOP is now. Object-oriented programming. And I said OOP consists of what? Classes and what? Objects. Now, and I explained that we want to know in HTML and CSS what is your class and what is your object. Now, in HTML, what is a class? What is a class? Or in CSS? In what situation do you use class names? Yes, classes are extra names. Classes are extra names. IDs are extra names. But I told you something that for you to use class names, certain conditions have to be met. What are those conditions? If you are in this class now, this class is the class of what? Eh? Front-end what? Developers, isn't it? Was that what I explained that when you talk about class, you're talking about combination of what? Similar things. Then IDs are what? Just singular. Was that what I said? Now, looking at this thing now, your person is a combination of what? Combination of user detail. Then the single entity is another what? Object. So you have multiple objects for one class. Do you understand this thing now? Is it clear to you now? Now, your objects here is your what? Your age, your race, your last name, your first name, right? Yes, we talked about objects before, and I said this. But basically, what your objects are is this. But to understand your object, you also have to what? Declare your class. Now, basically, this is still, of course, your object. But I'm just trying to explain to you what classes are and what objects are. Do you understand it now? So you have your objects here. Then your class is the variable name of person. Do you get it now? That's basically what your objects are. That's basically what object-oriented programming is. Now I'm going to give you the definition so you understand it. It said what? A class is a blueprint that defines the property and methods of an object. that defines the properties and methods an object can have. Now, if you come right here now, what exactly is the blue? Why am I always opening this? What exactly is the blueprint that defines the object here? Do you understand? Person is what is the major thing that now defines your object. So it's under person you cannot have your object and the value of the object. So now if you want to get the object race, how will you do it? Your class person dot what? Race. Do you understand it now? That's basically what your objects are. Now, object-oriented programming are very important. Object-oriented programming in JavaScript is very, very important. You need to understand it. That's why we definitely use it. Now, why is OOP needed? That's object-oriented programming. So basically, I'm not going to cut down on this. So limited code reusability. So it's just like your normal variables that you declare and then you can easily use them again. Same thing with objects. Objects, you can declare your objects and in any part of your code, because you know that this particular thing is defining something about a user, not just user, a particular entity or element, you can reuse them in other parts of the code. You understand? That's why objects are very, very important. Now, you have, of course, you can definitely go, but everything that I just explained is basically what your objects are. Now, again, objects in JavaScript is a collection of what? Data. That's your properties. And actions, methods, we'll talk about methods, stored as what? Key value pairs. Now, let me explain these things so that you can understand what I'm saying. Let us leave here first and let me explain. Now, in your objects, you have two major things. You have your properties, right? And then you have your methods. Properties are what? Values. That's what properties are. Methods are what? Functions. Do you understand? Now, what are functions? We'll get to functions very soon. So I will not talk about methods, I'll talk about functions. So let us talk about what? Properties. Now, looking at this place, what are the properties of this object? So you have what are the objects that you have? Properties of each object. You have what? First name, and it has, as you can see, a property. This is what? John. Another property is what? Though, attribute the value of what? Though. Then you have your what? Race, attribute the value of what? Black. Then age has the value of what? 53. All of these things are objects. And they have what? Properties. Do you understand it now? Now, this is basically what we mean by what your properties. Your properties are like the value that are coming out of your object. You understand? The defined. So let's say your properties are like defined objects, and each of those objects should have a value. Do you understand it now? So you have defined what username here. What's the value of this username? Empty string. Do you get it now? That's what your properties are. Now methods are now functions that are attributed to that particular object. Now I'm going to explain method, but first of all, I'm going to go ahead and explain functions. Now, once I'm done with functions, I'll definitely explain what methods are. Okay. Now, let's go ahead and explain functions. Now, what are functions? What exactly do we mean by functions? Functions are very important aspect of JavaScript. Now, what am I saying? You cannot do anything in JavaScript without functions. Now, let me just open this place so that you can understand better. I like using the definition first. So let's go ahead and check what the functions are. Like I said, functions in JavaScript are very much important in the sense that you create certain, I don't want to use the word functions, but they allow you to create certain interactions, not just interactions, functionality. I make something like that. But they allow you to create functionality. So, for instance, you want to click a button. Whenever you click a button, you want something to happen. So, if you work on a to-do list, if you click on delete, what happens? Delete, right? If you click on add, it has. If you click on edit, it definitely. For things like that to happen, what happens? You have to first of all create a function for each of those actions. So a function is saying that okay, you want a particular action in JavaScript. So if you want to create maybe add a long list of options, you click on add. For that add to work, you need to create a function for that add button. Do you understand what I'm saying? What am I saying again? So let me give you an example of what I'm saying. So right here now is a website. Let me just hold up. Okay, let me use this. Now we have this, right? If I click on this close button, what happens? Closes. That's a function. For that to work, what happens? You have to use a function for it to work. If I click on more,